Habakkuk 3:19. He will make my feet like hinds' feet, and he will make me to walk upon mine high places. Ajalon, place of deer, from Ayal. Hinds' feet, ka'ayalot, from the same root. Same creature, same word, opposite elevation. The valley in Joshua, the mountain height in Habakkuk. The deer that names the low ground in one text becomes the ascent to the height in the other. 3 words already heard inside Joshua will surface again once Habakkuk is heard in full, each one changing position as it crosses from one text to the other. Qual, the voice source hearkened to in a man, will be heard again, given to the deep itself. Ahmad, the moon's own mediating stance, will be heard again, as the stance source itself takes when it stands. Ayal, the deer that named the lowly valley beneath Gibeon, will be heard again, naming the sure foot that climbs a height. Hold these 3 roots in mind, they will return. Habakkuk, from Chabbach, to embrace or fold. Chet, containment field threshold. Bet, physical housing, the capacitor. Kof, toroidal revolution. Vav, the circuit bridge. The structural capacitor that folds and seals toroidal rotations, locking acoustic resonance into a closed circuit. To embrace or fold is the architecture of the white hole inversion itself. The cube standing up, its sides embracing and folding back together. Habakkuk 2:2-3. And the Lord answered me and said, write the vision and make it plain upon tables, and he may run that readeth it. For the vision is yet for an appointed time, but at the end it shall speak and not lie. Though it tarry, wait for it, because it will surely come. It will not tarry. Tables encode the structural framework of the 13th frequency. The appointed time marks the acoustic activation point where the closed toroidal circuit reaches maximum compression, unfolding into the sovereign emanation of the white hole. The appointed time marks the acoustic activation point where the closed toroidal circuit reaches maximum compression, folding into the sovereign emanation of the white hole. The tables are the 13-month cathedral calendar itself, the physical geometric capacitor built to hold this frictionless, zero-loss toroidal resonance permanently. Habakkuk Chapter 1. Habakkuk 1:1. The burden which Habakkuk the prophet did see. Burden, Masa, from Masa, to lift, to carry, to bear up. The word is not merely weight. Masa carries the double sense of bearing down and lifting up. The same root behind lifted up his voice. The burden Habakkuk receives in its own root, a thing that will rise as much as it presses. Habakkuk, from Chabbach, to embrace, to fold, to enfold another. Did see. Chazah, to see in vision, the technical term for prophetic sight, distinct from ordinary seeing. The title verse names a folded, embracing vessel, receiving a load that both presses down and is destined to rise, seen through the inner eye rather than the outer. Habakkuk 1:2. O Lord, how long shall I cry, and thou wilt not hear, even cry out unto thee of violence, and thou wilt not save? Cry. Za'ak, a distress cry, the same root used for Israel's cry under bondage in Egypt. Exodus 2:23. Violence, kamas, wrong done by force, injustice as a physical pressure exerted on a body. Here, Shema, the same root carried through Joshua's closing verse, and the Shema, the Lord hearkening to a voice. Here the root is negated. Thou wilt not hear. The circuit not yet closed. Save, Yasha, the same root inside Yehoshua and Yeshua, salvation as a name before it is an event. Habakkuk 1:3. Why dost thou shew me iniquity, and cause me to behold grievance? For spoiling and violence are before me, and there are that raise up strife and contention. Iniquity, aven, trouble, wickedness, rooted in a sense of emptiness or vanity, that which has no substance yet presses as if it did. Grievance, amal, toil, labor, weariness, the same root behind Genesis 5:29's naming of Noah. Comfort from our work and the toil, amal, of our hands. Strife, riv, legal contention, a dispute at the gate. Contention, medan, discord. The vision opens on a field where labor and emptiness are visually indistinguishable. The eye shown weight with no true mass behind it. Habakkuk 1:4. Therefore the law is slacked, and judgment doth never go forth, for the wicked doth compass about the righteous. Therefore wrong judgment proceedeth. Law, Torah, instruction, from Yara, to throw, to point, to direct. The same root giving the sense of an arrow shot toward a mark. Slacked, pug, to grow numb, to lose sensation, to go cold. Judgment, mishap. Judgment, mishpat, the rendered verdict, from shapat, to judge, to govern, to set right. Strife, riv, a legal contention heard at the city gate. Sha'ar, the ordinary courtroom of the ancient world. The same word for gate that later opens the 17th gate. Compass about, kathar, to surround, to encircle. The verse describes a directional pointer, Torah, going numb, and circling, kathar, forming around the righteous, the same geometry named elsewhere as the closed loop surrounding a fixed center. Habakkuk 1:5. Behold ye among the heathen, and regard, and wonder marvelously, for I will work a work in your days which ye will not believe, though it be told you. This verse names the whole architecture at its title. The work is the white hole inversion itself, incomprehensible to the uncalibrated mind, spoken of once by Habakkuk and once more by Paul in Acts 13:41, the same verse quoted back 7 centuries later. A work that arrives exactly as it was first named, a work not believed even when told. Heathen, goyim, nations, nation bodies, distinct from Israel. Wonder marvelously. Tamahu, tamahu, a doubled root. Wonder, wondering. The intensive Hebrew construction that pairs a verb with its own infinitive to signify totality or astonishment beyond ordinary measure. Work, po'al, deed, that which is made. Believe, aman, the root behind amen, to confirm, to support, to be steadfast. The same root that gives a man'ah, faith. The verse states a work will be done that cannot be held steady, cannot be amened by the mind receiving it in advance of its completion. Habakkuk 1:6. For lo, I raise up the Chaldeans, that bitter and hasty nation, which shall march through the breadth of the land, to possess the dwelling places that are not theirs. Chaldeans, Kadm, the Neo-Babylonian power. Bitter, mar, from marar, sharp, piercing, the same register as the spear that finds the exact target on the exact day, and by sound alone, the sea itself, mare, the deep, this force moves against. Hasty, nimhar, rash, quick, from a root meaning to hurry, to be pressed. Breadth, merkav, from rakav, wide open space, the same root beneath the ark's own breadth, rakav, in Genesis 6:15. Possess, yarash, to inherit, to dispossess, to take by force what belongs to another. A force is raised that moves fast across the open wide dimension and seizes ground it does not itself carry title to. Habakkuk 1:7-8. They are terrible and dreadful. Their judgment and their dignity shall proceed of themselves. Their horses are also swifter than the leopards, and are more fierce than the evening wolves. And their horsemen shall spread themselves, and their horsemen shall come from afar. They shall fly as the eagle that hasteth to eat. Dreadful, ayom, terrifying, from a root connected to fear itself. Leopards, namer, the same word decoded elsewhere. From nun, mem, resh, seed, waters, source. Spotted and localized light broken into fragments. The leopard in the canopy of the 12-base matrix closed loop. Eagle, nesher, from a root meaning to tear, to lacerate, the swiftest and highest flying bird named in Scripture, one of the 4 living faces already carried in the 4 toroidal quadrants. The same 4 square base, the leopard's own 4 wings and 4 heads already mapped. The same 4 square base, the leopard's own 4 wings and 4 heads already map. The speed named here is leopard speed and eagle speed. The fragmented light of the spotted namer paired with the tearing flight of the nesher, kinetic velocity without the unifying frequency behind it. Habakkuk 1:9. They shall come all for violence. Their faces shall sup up as the east wind, and they shall gather the captivity as the sand. East wind. Kadim, the hot, dry wind out of the wilderness. Kadm, that which is before. Ancient, the origin point direction. Sand, chol, innumerable small grains, the same image used for the promise to Abraham's seed, here inverted into captivity, gathered rather than blessing multiplied, the same fragmentation already carried in the leopard's own spots, namer. Light broken into countless localized pieces rather than held as one unified frequency. Gather, asaf, to collect, to bring in a harvest. Habakkuk 1:10 through 11. And they shall scoff at the kings, and the princes shall be a scorn unto them. They shall deride every stronghold, for they shall heap dust and take it. Then shall his mind change, and he shall pass over and offend, imputing his power unto his God. Stronghold, mitzvah, a fortified place, from Batsar, to cut off, to make inaccessible. The same root Habakkuk himself later stands on, Matsar, the bound and fortified watch of chapter 2. Heap, dust, tisavar afar, to pile earth into a siege ramp, the enemy's own siege performed here before the prophet takes up his own fortified post against it. His mind change, ruach chalaf, literally his spirit, ruach, passes on, changes, the same word ruach used for the Spirit of God moving upon the waters in Genesis 1:2. Here, ruach names a wind that shifts allegiance in mid-motion, attributing its own power to a false source, a spirit misreading its own origin. Habakkuk 1:12. Art thou not from everlasting, O Lord my God, mine Holy One? We shall not die. O Lord, thou hast ordained them for judgment, and, O mighty God, thou hast established them for correction. Everlasting, Kadm, the same root as the east wind of verse 9, origin point. That which stands before all things, the same category of word as eon, the total span of manifest expression, the breath of divine as duration. Ordained. Sim, to set, to place, to appoint a position. Correction, yakak, to reprove, to set right through argument. The same root behind the legal reasoning of a court proceeding. The Chaldean force. Wind out of the Kadm is here folded back into the Lord's own Kadm, the everlasting origin, the same directional word governing both the threat and the eternity that outlasts it. Habakkuk 1:13. Thou art of purer eyes than to behold evil, and canst not look on iniquity? Wherefore lookest thou upon them that deal treacherously, and holdest thy tongue when the wicked devoureth the man that is more righteous than he? Purer, tahor, ritually clean, unmixed. Behold, ra'ah, ordinary sight, distinct from Habakkuk's own chazah, prophetic sight in verse 1. Devoureth, bala, to swallow whole, the same root used of the fish swallowing Jonah. Treacherously, bagad, to act unfaithfully, to betray a covenant. From beged, a garment. Treachery pictured as a covering over the true form beneath it. Habakkuk 1:14. And makest men as the fishes of the sea, as the creeping things that have no ruler over them? Creeping things. Reams, that which moves along the ground without limbs raised, the lowest register of the Genesis 1 creation account. Ruler, mashal, one who governs, who holds dominion. The same root behind mashal as parable, a governing comparison. Without mashal, the vessel is reams, ground-bound motion, without a raised ruling axis. Habakkuk 1:15 through 16. They take up all of them with the angle. They catch them in their net and gather them in their drag. Therefore, they rejoice and are glad. Therefore, they sacrifice unto their net and burn incense unto their drag, because by them their portion is fat and their meat plenteous. Angle, chakah, a fish hook. Net, cherem, a drag net from the same root as cherem, a thing devoted to deconstruction, set apart under a ban. Drag, mikmareth, a sign net, dragged along the bottom. The vessel that pulls the field along the ground, mikmareth, is worshipped by those it captures. Incense burned to the instrument of their own capture rather than to what stands above it. John 21:11's own net of 153 fishes, and yet was not the net broken, is the same net's opposite number. Habakkuk's net is worshipped because it hoards, fat and plenteous, a vessel that profits by never releasing what it drags in. The resurrection net is proven, not worshipped, holding the full weight of 153 without tearing. One net feeds a closed system by capture. One net proves an open vessel strong enough to hold everything without failing. Habakkuk 1:17. Shall they therefore empty their net and not spare continually to slay the nations? Empty, wreck, to empty out, to pour clean. The same root behind rekam, in vain, without content. Slay, haraj, to kill, an ordinary term for violent death. The chapter closes on the question of whether the net, now full from verse 16's own fat and plenteous portion, will finally be emptied out. This is the same question the Day of Atonement's own 2 goats already answer. One insulating, one discharging, since a vessel that only holds without release eventually saturates and fails. Wreck names the alternative to Habakkuk's own net, the emptying that must follow every true filling, the same emptying language that later returns as the discharge of a filled vessel rather than mere destruction.